Because we were just talking about Apple Silicon, which of course is ARM-based. And this is an older article that I have put on screen right now about the UK starting an investigation into NVIDIA's planned acquisition of ARM. And when this merger was announced initially, I actually don't remember when that was. A lot of industry voices were already saying, due to NVIDIA's policies in regards to competitors and even partners, the purchase of ARM could end up very toxic for the whole industry. And that triggered the UK's investigative body back in November. And the reason why I'm talking about this now is this week it was announced that the FTC, so the Federal Trade Commission in the US, is now investigating this acquisition as well. And the vote has been unanimous in regards to starting that investigation. Because the FTC sees the same problems that most people in the industry are seeing. Because a lot of companies are basing their chips on ARM reference designs. That goes from not only Apple Silicon, which we were just talking about, but we have also devices like solid state drives in computers that are using controllers that are ARM based. Of course, basically all smartphones have ARM based SoCs, and basically having NVIDIA taking control of ARM would put NVIDIA on an unfair advantage to the competitors, and even put NVIDIA in the position to perhaps even getting secrets from the products developed by ARM's license partners, like Apple, because Apple, for example, does use the reference spec from ARM, but builds their own cores. Probably there is a lot of information exchange, working together, solving problems, and so on. So in theory, NVIDIA could gain additional insights on what Apple is doing or what Qualcomm is doing. So really a tricky issue. And if you ask me, it would be best for the whole industry if NVIDIA is not allowed to buy ARM and complete the merger. I think that shows that a more open standard, perhaps for processor architectures, is also needed, like with the open source thinking in regards to software, like I discussed earlier. A lot of companies are already looking into building platforms on the RISC-V architecture, which is in itself open source. And for example, I think Western Digital and Seagate both, but I definitely know Western Digital did it, already built SSD controllers based on the RISC-V architecture instead of ARM. And you will be seeing much more on that in the next following years. But as it was also discussed by other commentators, a transition for platforms like from ARM to RISC-V, or like Apple just did it from, or is doing it from Intel to ARM, those take time to prepare. Let's take, for example, Apple's transition from PowerPC to Intel in 2000, and which was announced in 2005. I think macOS first was released in 2000 or 2000, not macOS, macOS 10 was announced in 2000 or 2001. And basically what was disclosed then, which was just a rumor until that point, was that Apple basically developed macOS at the time in a way that allowed them to run it on Intel systems and on PowerPC systems at the same time, basically since the inception of the new operating system. And of course, the OS that is running on iPhones and iPads nowadays is based on the same root core of the operating system, like macOS. So, since basically you can say that in theory Apple would have been able to run macOS on ARM since the release of the iPhone. So doing this final step has been basically long time in the making. And the crucial part nowadays is really the optimizations. And to figure out optimizations takes time. And for example, RISC-V, it's a new and shiny architecture, but it's still in its infancy. So to see the whole industry shift from ARM to RISC-V in the next couple of years just would not be realistic in my eyes. And basically, NVIDIA locking things up would just mean that the whole industry, except for perhaps NVIDIA, would be stagnating, more or less. And that would be a huge advantage for, of course, NVIDIA, Intel, and AMD, who basically have their own architecture IPs, then, and would just have to would be able to progress forward. And so let's see what the future brings. I hope that, as I said earlier, the merger will not go through, and that we will see much more innovation that is happening in the ARM space right now. There is a lot more to come.